We are being live streamed. It says preparing. Dun, da, da, da.
Telling me it's streaming live.
Streaming live.
Live streaming.
I almost feel like we ought to do a countdown.
9, 8,
6. Oh, wait, what happened to say? That's an old Mel Brooks. Oh my God. You know what the sad thing is? I bet half the people listening have never heard that joke.
Probably not.
I've never seen
Brooks.
the movie. Mel Brooks. I think he's kind of banned nowadays, isn't he?
He had some really, some of the stuff in those movies would not be politically correct now.
No.
Blazing Saddles.
Not at all. All right, let's get this show on the road. Here we are. Should be catching up here. So welcome to the journey from shy to shine, also known as getting the heck out of the sea of sameness. You know, the same old look, the same scripts, the same tired old, business pickup lines,
right?
The same life, and the same crappy results that everyone else in your industry gets. We're getting out of that, and we're getting into the flow of connection, which is where the profit is. And I've got Chris Jones of Chris Jones Media, and this dude is a communications genius and a bundle of energy. I love that about him. Video, voice acting, virtual media, the 3 V's I call it. I just made that up. And he has a crazy, well, it is good. He has a crazy story to tell. And there's a specific part of his story that just impresses the heck out of me. And I'm gonna let him tell that, but I can't wait for you to hear about that. It's unbelievable. And before we get to that, let me just ask you a quick question.
Sure.
This is for the audience, this is for everybody. When's it your turn to stand up and stand out? When's it your turn when are you gonna let the world know what you stand for and what you stand against? And when are you gonna stop playing small, right? There's a giant inside of you, there's greatness inside of you. When are you gonna let that out? Because when you do, that's when you bring profits back to your business and back to your life. So Chris, first of all, do you agree with that? I know you do, but
100%, Josh, 100%. First of all, thanks for having me on your show since you were just on mine. This is kind of cool that we're kind of doing this. So yeah, it's an honor. So yeah, everything's good.
Thanks for sharing time with us, man.
Sure.
I really appreciate it. And I want to get to your story, but first, this is always the honorary first question because it speaks to so much. But in your own words, without all that industry jargon stuff and whatever people say, what do you do in your words?
Let's start that again. I tell stories. I'm a storyteller.
I like it.
And I like to evoke imagination and through the storytelling. The technical part is video audio, but the real thing is using your imagination, video and audio, to paint a picture, tell a story in your brain, in your head. So you're like, wow, I didn't know that, or that's phenomenal, or whatever. But storytelling is key, and that's what I do. I tell stories. That's really it.
I love that. First of all, I love that you're just sharing what you do, not how you do it necessarily, because sometimes we get caught in that trap of I'm a videographer and I do social media. But I love that you're just sharing the transformation. You're helping people tell their story, but in a powerful way.
Oh, very powerful. Very powerful. Some of the stories I've told have resulted in, shall we say, increased profits. I mean, that's the goal, but the whole thing is involving emotion. And when you evoke emotion from a story, telling the story, begin like an origin story for a business or a person. It's not always about business too, because I've told some stories. In fact, my favorite one is from a heart transplant survivor in Ballston Spa, New York.
Wow,
that's kind of where I am. We talked a little bit on the phone, or whatever, but I went down and set up a camera, 2 cameras, and just let them talk in different angles. I asked a few questions. My voice was in it. I wasn't. It was all them telling the story about this this gentleman who had survived a heart transplant, and the love, it was like right before Valentine's Day too.
Oh my.
And it was all about the love they had for each other. And that was as good or better to record than say a business thing, because it evokes so much emotion. But not to put down, I wasn't trying to degrade anything of what I do, but basically telling a story and evoking emotion will get people to resonate and listen and
Absolutely.
ultimately purchase. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what's the difference really? Whether, doesn't emotion belong in business? Should we, let me ask you this, should we limit
Yes.
our emotion in business just because
No.
it's now business? Now we need to
No.
tone it down? Or do you
No.
think we could be as emotional as that heart patient in sharing their bond with their significant other?
Yes, you can be, and there's ways to do it. Whether it's talking about product or perhaps a particular story about how a product helped you and benefited you, and that could be part of it, or the service you provide, helping out a lot of people in need, and maybe a testimonial from somebody like that, one of your customers. You don't even want to say that. You want to say partner, friend, whatever, that you helped through your efforts. So yeah, business can be very emotional. In fact, it should be if it's not.
Good, good. I take business very personally
Yeah,
myself.
yeah,
So, so
yeah.
so here's the obvious question then, why? And let me give you two parts to this. Why do you care so much, or particularly about what you do, about this?
Mhm.
And why do you think you're the right person to bring this to the world?
Because I think I have a unique take on things, and I have the ability to kind of read people, I guess, because it's all people.
Yeah.
I want people to know me, to like me, and trust me. And the know part is easy because you can tell stories and go that way. But the like and trust parts are earned. And I
Mm,
like to think that I know how I can kind of tell what people need to hear or want to hear by having a quick conversation with them. And the reason I do is because I'm very fulfilled when I actually take care of somebody's, I don't want to say problem, but somebody's needs and wants and desires. And that's what drives me, is doing that, is taking care of people.
good, good. Is it because that kind of harkens back to some of the stuff you did? Now, okay. So how old are you? Because I'm going to be honest, when I was doing your interview, uh, I really thought you were probably late 30s, early 40s. Maybe it was the camera angle or just the skincare regimen you do. I don't know. Whatever your secret is, it's working.
Mhm.
But how old are you right now?
My driver's license said I was born in 1959.
So if I carry the 3 and
I'm
times square root of
62.
18, 62, there you go.
62.
62. That's
Social
incredible.
Security age. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
I,
I think a lot of that is mindset, attitude.
yeah.
So
Now you left the corporate world not that long ago, correct?
yes, my last day of employment in a job, I'll call it a job, that's what it was February 28th, 2019. I was in the car business in Glens Falls, New York. And I had been in it 6 years, almost to the day I left, which was odd, strange. It was like an anniversary. My 6th anniversary
Yeah.
was being fired. Honestly, this is like full transparency. But being fired, when you think of being fired, you think of get off the property now. We're going to have 6 people escort you off. Get your car. Get the heck out of here.
Yeah, it's a
No,
bad thing, right?
a bad
It's
thing.
a yeah.
Not in this case, because the sales manager had said that he wish he had more people like me as far as temperament and how my customer service skills and all of that. It's just that it's all about the dollars and the money, of course.
Yeah.
And I wasn't pulling it in. My passion had ran out really for that. Now, 2 things. I could have quit at some point and just left. But for some reason, everybody has a different take on when they need to do something, when they need to make a change. I suppose in my mind, I wasn't ready to make the change,
Okay.
which is why I didn't leave on my own and do it, which I know people are going to say, well, why didn't you just leave when the passion was gone?
Yeah.
I said, well, I just didn't. Straight up, I just didn't. And in the car business, and a lot of businesses, but I know in the car business, everything goes month to month. It's all a month thing. So on the last business day of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern, when the business day is over and the month is over, okay, you're done. We can't do this anymore. But before I had even gone, before I even got to that office where they were going to do this, I already had my key off the ring. I knew what
You
the
knew.
heck was.
Yeah.
I know. And here's the key. We can't do this anymore. I said, neither can I.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit. I won't go into any of those details, but the next day I woke up March 1st, 2019, and that was 2 days before my 60th birthday. Happy birthday.
Yes.
But you know what? I was, and I don't do it now. I don't offer it as a service, but I did a little bit of website design with WordPress. And I had a site up, chrisjonesmedia.com, but it was kind of like a news site or whatever. But I just completely changed the whole thing into what it is, almost what it is now. Actually, there's been some tweaks and changes, but at
Of
that
course.
point, I made it into a video and audio. I call it a voiceover type of website. And I went out and got some clients and started doing that. So that day, March 1st, 2019, was the first day of the rest of my life at that point.
You wasted. So basically, that was another. And I love how you remember the date. See, I remember June 19th, 2014 was my
Mm.
date. I remember
Oh.
like it's. In fact, actually, it was technically June 18th because the 19th it was I took a day off,
No.
and I was still employed, but I didn't
Yeah.
show up to work that day. So I remember that. But isn't it? It's like a birthday. It's like you were
It is.
reborn that day. Isn't that cool? How we just remember these significant events like that.
Oh yeah, I can recite almost word for word the conversations that were had, and I called my wife and I said we have one car right now, and she had the car, and I'm like, I need you to come get me. Well, why? Well, I don't work here anymore. But you know what? It wasn't like get off
Wait,
the
they didn't give
property.
they didn't give you a loaner or a ride at least?
A
I mean, come on, you work at a
loaner when
car
you're
dealership.
fired.
A
That would
car
be cool.
dealership, man. The least they can do is give you a ride home. In the loaner car. Then now don't have to use a new car, just the loaner car. Come
Yeah, an old 2007 Malibu or something.
on. Actually, you're right.
Yeah,
I would have rather walked. Drive
I live like a block from that dealership. I still do actually. I could have walked,
Yeah.
but it was rather chilly that particular day in February. So
All right. Fair enough. So this is what really impresses me though. 60 years old and you're starting over. Not starting over, you're starting again. And that takes balls. At 60, most people have already given up.
well, that's the thing. A lot of people do give up and they just say, you know what? When I get past 35, 40, I'm like washed up. I'm done.
Yeah.
Might as well just hang it up and, sit on a couch and watch Netflix or something. No way. I'd always had, I spent a lot of time in radio broadcasting. And when I was younger, I'll give you some dates here too.
Okay.
My first ever radio show was 1979. I was 20
All right.
at the time.
Were you
Professional.
DJing or was it
Yes,
like
I
a
was a
talk
DJ.
show?
I didn't do the news.
Okay.
Thank gosh, I'm not a newsman.
You weren't a Paul Harvey or anything, that's the
No.
rest of the story.
The rest of the story, although he was part of my programming that I would engineer online.
Nice.
Paul Harvey. Now there's a name.
I know. I had to bring that up. I used to listen to Paul Harvey. Oh yeah.
Paul was good. So in my first ever actual paid radio gig was in April something, 1980. Okay. And that was in Plattsburgh, New York. So people, that's a reference for geographic. There's a lake there, Lake Champlain, which is the Champlain Valley, which is really nice. It's a beautiful lake. And I moved across the lake after a while to Burlington, Vermont. And then I moved back across to a little tiny town. I call it a one lung radio station in Ticonderoga, New York. It's a 1,000 watt thing. That's what I call.
All right.
This is all radio jargon, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a low powered local station. It was fun. But I ended up in Glens Falls, New York, and that's where I started raising a family here in radio. And I got out of radio in 1993. And my last gig was in 93. I played country music for a while. Most of what I
Ooh,
played was
interesting.
pop, the current
Okay.
hits and some oldies. And then I got into, face-to-face sales. I'm getting into my entire history. Is this all right to do that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I got into face-to-face sales. That was 90. I started selling and I overlapped it with the radio a bit. And then I stopped doing radio and I sold all the way up to the car dealership. I also worked in a newspaper doing pre-press work
That
on
was back when
Mac.
they actually had presses, right? When they actually made
Yes.
real newspaper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real newspaper. Yeah.
Another
Um,
relic of the
yeah.
bygone era.
I will
Yeah.
tell you that my brother works in a newspaper and they still run the old press up there. But anyway, from there, I went to, I ended up in the car business in 2013. So when you had your day, like you were saying in 2014, I'd been about a year in the car business at that point. And like you said, and then I went all the way up to 2019 with it in February. And that's when I left and started Chris Jones Media as a media production business.
Now, any transition like that's got to be hard, right? It's got
Oh,
to
of
be
course it
challenging to
was.
go from employee, especially, I call it shy to shine, but it's basically employee mindset. Keep your head down, don't bark too loudly, do what you're told,
Oh, and
obey, to
towards the
entrepreneurship.
end, I was barking a little
Yeah.
and I irritated a
Well,
couple
that's why
people.
you had to make the transition, because you were already starting to show signs of entrepreneurship. You were already, I think, in that
Yeah,
transition,
I
right?
was. I was. And that's why I didn't do so well that last month. Full transparency, I think I sold one car that month. Selling one car, you could sell, okay, I want to do a little rant. You could sell 25 cars one month. Oh, gee, aren't you the greatest? You're the best. Look at the high profit margin, all that. Next month, everything sucks and you
Clean
sell
the
one
slate.
or,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, well, what the heck's wrong with you? What
Hmm.
about last month? Well, what about now? Okay, so
Yeah.
you sell 15 cars. How come you didn't sell 20?
How
Whatever. I don't want
frustrating.
to,
That's
those
got to be
people,
frustrating to
it,
reset the clock every month. That's to like,
I know.
in other words,
That
there's
was,
no building. That's my problem with not just the car industry. This is by the way, this is true in the financial industry too, where I was. Every month it just resets. It's like, it doesn't matter what you did in the past. Thank you for that. But now what could you do for me today? And it's like, you're building nothing. You're in the freaking rat, you're in this like rat race. Like you're just on the hamster wheel, and it's like it never freaking
but
ends.
you're correct. And the people I worked for are all great people.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to talk about the human factor
Sure.
because they had my interest at heart. What can we do to help you? Things like that.
Yeah.
And it got to be where I just kind of said I don't know because they really couldn't,
They
from
couldn't.
their viewpoint.
You were out.
And I
Yeah.
was gone. My mind had already checked out. It was
Yeah.
gone, and I was already looking forward to the next thing, whatever it was. So when I called my wife, I said, I'm just going to ramp up the media now, and I'm going to. It wasn't even like oh my God, I'm fired. What am I going to do? Where am I going to sleep? What am I going to eat next week? 2 days later, we were at my birthday party at Outback Steakhouse up here. So that was, yeah.
Now that you bring that up, it almost sounds like being a little bit on, I don't want to say older, but being, let's say, mature, that probably was actually a benefit because you didn't overreact. Now, if you were 22 years old or 25 years old,
Oh
that
yeah.
might have been the end of your world. That might have crushed you, but
Here's
sounds
another
like,
transparent story, and
yeah,
I'm gonna reshare this on my own Facebook at some point.
do it.
One of those crisscrosses across Lake Champlain up here was I went to this little one lung station in Ticonderoga. I got fired from there. How old was I? 1982, 1983. So
Yeah.
I would have been 24 at that point. That was a disaster for me. Because what you just said, when you're that age, it's like, oh, what am I going to do?
The end of the world.
End of the world. And I could have gone back home and stay with my parents. I said, no, I'm going to go south and see what else is going on in radio at that time. I ended up in Glens Falls, New York. But I know the feeling. I know what you're talking about because
Yeah.
it was just a disaster. It's like, oh my gosh. And I was just like a mess. When it happened in the car business, it's like, tomorrow's another day, and I'm going to go start. But initially, I will say there was a little twang or twinge of like worry but
Sure.
not like it was in 1983. Not at
So
all.
you didn't fall apart, which is
No,
good.
not at all.
So then what was the challenge? What would you say was your biggest challenge making that what was your fear, your worries, your doubts going on in your mind at that time?
Well, my fear was that I would not be making enough money. My wife was working still full time, and
Okay.
she actually still does to this day. But I was worried that we were used to a certain way of doing things, and now a good half of that income was gone, or I
Yeah.
thought was going to be gone. And it takes time to when you start, because I hadn't been doing a whole lot with it, because you can take it any way you want. You could say, well, you could compartmentalize your time, but working in the car business, it's like it drains you. It can drain
Right.
you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like constant, 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 constant. And it depends on how your mind processes all that. But it's just a constant, um, where's the next customer coming from sort of thing.
Right. Right.
And that drains you. And I just didn't have a lot of energy to do anything else and stay up till 10 or 11 o'clock at night or 2 a.m. like Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, and do your side hustle, and then get up the next day and go to work for
Give
an
it all
8
up.
a.m. meeting. And it's like you're sitting there and you're like, Chris, are you awake?
Well, not just that, you didn't have your heart and your mind in it anyways.
I would
So
go to these
that
sales
even
meetings and I'm
worse.
like, what? I just don't want to be here.
Yeah.
That was in my brain. I just don't want
Yeah.
to be here. And if you're always doing something where you don't want to be there, it's going to take a toll on you. Because basically your soul gets sucked right out, and you're just going through motions, Walking Dead, like the show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was talking when I was mentioning the rat race, I agree with you. People are good, they have good intentions, but the system that we've designed where you just show up at these jobs and every month it's a reset and then it's thankless.
Mhm.
We've set up these systems to really crush people, to crush our purpose, our souls, crush our, drain our energy, like you're saying.
We could
Uh,
get off on a little tangent here, and I did with somebody I interviewed about why people think they have to go get a job out of high school or out of wherever, because we're taught in school to be workers. We're taught to be part of the system, like you
mhm,
say, keep your head down and obey, whatever. It'd be just feed the system and all of that. And
right.
entrepreneurship, it is now more than I think it used to be, but most people don't start their own business. Most people just go to work and
Yeah.
9 to 5 and 6 to 6 or whatever it is. And these 12-hour shifts is another pet peeve of mine. 12 hours. Okay, 8 is okay. Got a break, whatever. 12, you get up to 8 hours or 7 or 8 hours, and you're like, my gosh, is this ever going to end?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you know what I mean there.
Uh,
So I got off on a
100%.
tangent, but
No, that's fine. So what would you say to someone who is 62 years old and they're like, I can't do this now. It's too late. I'm too old. What do you really want to tell people like that?
if you get to be, if this person, and I've seen this happen, if you get to be 85, 90, and you're sitting around saying, I wish I'd done this or that or something, you're going to live with so much regret. You're just going to be sad and depressed all the time. I would say it's all a matter of mindset, and age is no factor at all. And I had those initial thoughts like, gee, can I do this at 60 or whatever? I was like, yeah, certainly I can. Because people tell me I think like a 30-year-old or whatever, younger. People say that, how can you do all this? How do you know all this tech and social media? Aren't the kids supposed to know that? Well, that's a stereotype. Yeah, okay, the kids know it, but I made it it's my business to know it, and
Right.
that's my passion. So, video,
There,
audio, social media.
there's a guy, you're not old enough to remember this person, but his name is George Burns. And he once said that you can't help getting older, but you never have to get old. And I've always loved that.
George Burns.
Yeah.
My favorite movie with him was with John Denver. Oh God, remember Oh
Oh
God?
yeah. Oh God, you devil. Oh God, part 1 and 2. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was just John Denver
Now
going
we're
through the
really
car.
dating ourselves, man. This is
Yeah, well, I
we
know
just
George.
I'm just playing with you, man. I know, of course, you know George Burns. You
Yeah.
have to. The guy lived till 100 years old, smoking and drinking.
Yeah.
He's just a
Imagine that. Smoking and drinking.
yes. For 80 years, he was smoking and drinking his entire life, and he lived till 100 because he had purpose. Because
Yeah.
he refused to just get old. He's like,
Mhm.
yeah, how many times you go around the sun doesn't matter, but I'm not going to get old.
No, you
And
can't.
it's incredible. What
It's
a
always
mindset.
it's always right up here. I feel like I'm 35 today or whatever, it's not
Yeah. So now you're in business, right? Now you're a true entrepreneur. You're in business. You're bringing a lot of value to people. How I'm always curious about first impressions. How are you finding new clients? What's working for you? Because I know a lot of my audience is always like, how do I reach out? How do I find my tribe, my people, my ideal folks, my prospects?
be
What's working for
yourself.
you? Okay.
I be myself all the time.
Okay.
You cannot put on a false front,
Yeah.
or because you end up looking like a used car salesman. Here's that car stuff again.
Yeah.
Wow.
It keeps coming. No, car salesmen get a really bad rap,
They
but for a
do.
good, but for a good reason.
They do. Some of them, some of the stuff I've seen, I'll tell you. But not at the place I was at. They were pretty
Yeah.
above board. But
But you're pretty good on social media too. Any social media platforms working best for you or
LinkedIn,
that you like? LinkedIn. Okay.
LinkedIn. I mean, I'm on Facebook. We're on Facebook right now.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram, even TikTok. TikTok is another whole untapped. Well, a lot of people are tapping it, but LinkedIn for me is where I've grown a lot.
Okay.
I think I have more LinkedIn followers than I have Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter all combined, honestly,
Wow.
because I put a lot of effort into the LinkedIn by beefing up my
Yeah.
profile and knowing what works, when to post, what to say, hashtags, videos, links to things, whatever. It's just a matter of providing valuable content and doing it in a timely manner and be consistent
Yeah.
with your message about what you do, and always just be yourself. Tell the stories, and you don't always need, a 4K $1,000, $4,000 camera to
Heck no,
do
I'm
it.
on my phone right now. Give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, I could just take my phone and go, hey, uh, and you want to start out. Here's a tip on a video. You don't want to start out with, hi, my name's Chris, and we're
Oh
here.
God, never
Tune out.
start with that.
Tune
Never
out.
start with that. Exactly.
Tune out, because that's what they do. You start out with something like, why now? Why should you do video now? Why should you do video marketing in your business? Well, because if you don't, blah, 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 and you can go on. But something
go.
impactful to start with right there.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I've been preaching this forever.
Yeah.
Don't start with the yams disease. The I am this, I am that, I am in Orlando, I am looking for this kind of person.
Well, for one thing, they already know who the heck you are because your name is right above the damn.
Exactly.
I say that. Oh, you're getting me. Your name is right above the video, whatever they're seeing. So you don't. I know who you are. Shut up. Now, what are you going to tell me? I'm kidding.
Well, by the way, I don't know if anyone caught this, but you just gave about 8 different nuggets. You said hashtag, time of day, what content, where you're posting it, how you're doing that are so vital. And if anyone listening doesn't understand one of those things that Chris just mentioned, talk with Chris. This is what he does well. And I see his content on LinkedIn and it's incredible. So,
Thanks.
I mean, you're holy crap. You're living your business. You're actually, you're doing what you say what you teach people to do.
I wake up in the morning. My wife gets up early a lot to go to work at 6. So I'm up a lot in the morning, and that's my best. Well, I have 2 best times, honestly. Let me get off into that for a second.
Okay.
I get up in the morning and I can't wait to get started on something related to the business and promoting it and just, making it better. I tend to be creative in the morning, 4 to 7 a.m. ish Eastern. Okay. And I also, sometimes I get like another burst of energy, and not that it doesn't happen during the day, but once in a while you take a small break, but in the evenings, 7 to like maybe 10 p.m. Eastern. And I'm like,
boy, I'm really glad you specified time zone, because that means people on the West Coast have to get up between 1 and 4 p.m. in the morning. Otherwise, because it's got to be Eastern, right? 4 to 7 Eastern. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing with you. I love how a time zone matters when you're talking about your personal schedule. That's great.
Well, because we probably got people in California looking at me saying, what the heck, 5 a.m.? It's like 2 o'clock for him. What the heck?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Why do I have to get up that early? Hey, if you're in Europe, you're even better because now
Oh,
it's just
five
like
hours ahead in England, I
now
think
it's
there's
midday.
more.
Now it's
Yeah,
lunchtime. Perfect.
yeah, true.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. So what's your biggest challenge in business now? What can stop you? Tell me what can stop you now from accomplishing
Okay.
your vision and bringing this to the world?
Lack of customers, clients would certainly do that. But I have the systems in place to get out there and basically get them. And that involves, coming up with stories, with unique, impactful content that's going to get out there.
Mhm.
And when you send out your email lists, you want to not bore them to death. And that's the same thing too with an email list. It's the same thing as the beginning of a video. Hi, my name is, okay, so what? Well, how are you going to solve my problem?
Yeah. Do you even
Ba-
care about me? How about empathize with the person? Like,
well, you know
let me
what I
know.
just sent out? I sent out a newsletter talking about employee to entrepreneur. I mean, I did a video on it about a year ago, and I transcribed it, and it was an 8-minute read on LinkedIn. If you go read it, the whole thing, nobody's going to sit there and read that in an email, I don't think. So I summarized it a bit and sent it out as part of a newsletter talking about Halloween and
There you
safety
go.
and humanizing it a little bit. And it's the human side, the stories, and
100%.
what your why. Basically, your why. Why do you do what you do? And
It's
that's what I
everything. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I tend to promote, and that's what tends to work for me. So
So how many more years do you think you got in you? What's your vision? Like how far out are you going in your goals and your legacy? Like what does that look like and how far out are you going?
I have a goal, a health goal, which is another whole subject because I'm in another company and we're helping. I want to live to be 100 years old, kind of like George
Okay.
Burns, you know, and I'm not going to stop doing video anytime. And I'm not going to stop doing Chris Jones media at any time. I mean, as long as I have the passion for it, if I get to one day when I'm 82 or something and the passion's gone, maybe that's time to rethink.
Time to change.
But,
Yeah.
but right now, the passion is there, and I wake up every day and pursue that passion. And because I'm basically, I tell people a lot that I commute to the coffee pot and then to the home office. That's how I say it. And because I wake up with the passion. If I don't wake up with the passion one day, then it's time to rethink. But I see that going on for a long time, a very long time.
Good. Good. And that's so important. 'Cause I always ask people like, why do you wake up? Why'd you get out of bed in the morning? I know why you woke up because our natural diurnal cycles and your body's going to wake up, but why did you get out of bed? Why didn't you just stay in bed? Right. So I love that you have that purpose. You've got that very clearly defined purpose. This is how I'm bringing my gift to the world. And if we all had that, I think we all can live not even to 100. Why not 120 or 140? I'm not planning on
Yeah,
dying
that's, I
personally.
just put an arbitrary number out
Yeah.
there, but 100 is quite the goal. That would be the year 2059. So what's going to be? Oh, I want to be alive to see all the tech going on at that point.
You know,
I'm not.
yeah, that's going to be awesome. The technology in a few
I'm
years.
not going to be one of those guys that says, "Oh, I don't know how to work a phone." My
You,
daughter does that or whatever.
you got
You
any
know,
transistor radios there?
speaking of that, that was the first time when I thought I wanted to actually get into radio communication.
Yeah.
I had an AM only
Oh yeah.
transistor radio listening to
I
like,
had one. It was about this big. It wasn't very
yeah,
big. Yeah.
I was listening to Three Dog Night and the Rolling Stones and the Beatles.
You know, in preparing for this interview, I actually came up with. I thought about a question, and I'll ask you the question first, and I'll share mine. But what would be? I want you to think of your ideal eulogy. So let's say one day when you do pass on, what's the first thing people are going to say? What's that first line that would kind of like set off your eulogy? That would, when it's all said and done. Have you ever thought about that? Like,
I've
I,
never thought about that.
yeah, I don't know if it would be like an epitaph or just a eulogy, but I'm thinking more like a eulogy. Uh, but some of your notes, I was reading through your website and all the amazing content on there and watching some of your videos, and it just popped that question in my head, and I thought about what would be mine, and mine would be, he hasn't died yet, but we're tired of waiting. because I'm not planning on dying. Seriously, I'm really not. So I just
Well,
thought, I was like, thank you for the inspiration, by the way. That was great.
oh, that's cool. Well, I'm glad to be of service there. For me, I don't know if I'd be that profound with that or as comical, but I would just want people to remember me as a friendly, caring, empathetic person.
Good. All right, last two questions. This
Okay.
one's going to be a little tough one maybe. So you're on a plane, the plane's going down, right? It's you're going down. 30 seconds is what you got to text your loved ones. One, two, or three most important, short, quick, important things that you've learned in life in your 62 something years. What are those? What are those
30
could be,
seconds I have.
you got 30 seconds. It could be one thing, two things, three things, but just that's all you got. So concisely, like, what would you like to pass on? What pieces of wisdom in your entire life? And you got a lot of good experience. What would you pass on?
Love your family. Love, wow. You know, you
I
got
told you it was
me.
a tough one.
Yeah, it's going to involve the word love.
Okay.
Honey, I'm going down. The plane's going down. I love you so much. I love my family so much. Um, uh, Tell everybody I love them all. It's been oh Jesus. I'd have to
Any,
think about this.
that's fine. That's fine. Any particular advice like on how to for them to be happy or successful? Like, here's something I learned. Like, this is like the most important
Yes.
thing I learned. And
Okay.
I
All
want
right.
to make sure you remember this so that you can be happy and
Remember
successful.
to pursue your passion, do what you love, wake up every day and be thankful you're alive and do
Mm,
what you love, and you will be the happiest person on the planet. You had to
yes,
phrase it the right way, and then it came out of my.
there you go.
But yeah,
I knew we
I
were
would
going to
say
get
that. Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's awesome. So how do people find you? How do people reach you? How do people get into your circle? Because people need to talk with you. They need that. They need a one-on-one. They need to get into your sphere
Sure.
because you got way too much good stuff to share.
Oh wow, thanks. ChrisJonesMedia.com is the website. It's been newly revamped
Looks
and
good. Yeah.
out there. There's a newsletter on there. You can get that. I'm on LinkedIn under Chris Jones Media as well. You know, that's the place I am at the most. Is on LinkedIn, and there's also a YouTube channel, Chris Jones Media, Facebook and Instagram, Chris Jones Media. Actually, on Instagram is Chris Jones Media 1 because there's another guy in England who had it before.
There's another Chris Jones Media. Oh my goodness.
There is. I think he's a sports writer.
Do we need to go like we need to go take care of him? Like,
No.
you know what I mean? Like, just
Actually, he has a pretty
get
nice.
him out of the picture, so to speak.
Yeah, because I went to on Instagram. I went to get Chris Jones Media, and it's like taken. I'm like, what? Who's got that?
Well, you
Well,
got the
Chris,
website. You got the URL though, so that's good.
I did. ChrisJonesMedia.com. I
Yes.
don't know what he's got, whatever. But that would be the best place, I think, is Chris Jones Media because the links are all there. That one and LinkedIn are my two best.
Definitely LinkedIn. So I want to recommend to everyone, definitely LinkedIn and follow him because he does amazing podcast interviews, far better than I do, or than these Facebook
This was
Live.
fun, Josh.
That's the problem. I only have fun. So hopefully it provided value. I know we did.
Yeah, we did.
But definitely that's a good place to find you. I know for sure is on
Okay.
LinkedIn. That's where I follow you and everything.
Well, thanks.
So
It has
cool.
been such a pleasure, and I appreciate it, and I'm honored
Yeah.
that you.
Anything we didn't cover? Any final things that anything we didn't cover?
I'll
or
think of
anything
them
else?
in like another hour from now.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. Well, I tell you what, if you think of anything, post them in the comments below, and we'll go from there. But this has been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure, and I always do this at the end of these. You know, can you?
I can.
No, do it with your right hand. Your right hand.
Left. This is my right hand. Maybe
No,
it's just
because
swapped on the video.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Put your thumb out too. You got to put your thumb out.
Here, I'll do it with both. How about
That's
that?
fine because I can't even do it with my left hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
actually,
then we
it doesn't.
shake like this.
There you go. Leonard Nimoy on Star Trek never did it with his left hand ever. Nobody ever did. So this is the only one that. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Trivia.
There you go.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, Josh. Thank you so much.
Likewise. And everyone out there, you champs, remember what Chris and I are doing And what you're going to join us in is we're bringing our humanity back to our business. We're bringing profits back to our lives, because it is time to stand up. There's no more being shy. Shy equals broke. Less shy, less broke. And
Yeah.
that's how it works in business. So thank you all for listening. And until next time, we love you.